Breaking news from the Australian Open, Alexandra Eala has just won her match in a stunning upset, becoming the first qualifier to reach the quarterfinals in the tournament's history.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are not discussing a tennis match today. We're not discussing a breakpoint, a forehand winner, or a trophy lift. We are discussing a change, a massive, unanticipated, and honest strange change in the geopolitical professional sports environment that happened softly at first, then loudly on the Melbourne Park's outside courts week. If you examine the official scoreboard for the Australian Open in 2026, you'll notice a straightforward, commonplace fact. The 20-year-old rising star Alexandra Eala, a Philippine star, was lost. She lost the initial round. She was the American Alicia Parks was defeated in 3 groups. In the harsh world of binary in victories and defeats, Alex Eala was unsuccessful. She packed her belongings. She made a flight reservation, returning to Manila. By conventional measures, her competition didn't happen. However, we do not reside in a conventional world. No longer. The economy in which we live is focus. According to that measure, the only metric that actually determines the future of superstardom. Alex Eala did not simply prevail. The Open in Australia. She took a swallow of whole. Please have a look at one number. Analysts are left with just one number. Sponsors and directors of tournaments, they are completely scratching their brains. Incredulity. Prior to the start of the competition, the official YouTube channel for the Australian Open press conferences that the channel uploaded for the most well-known figures in the sport. We're discussing icons. We are discussing Novak Djokovic. Carlos Alcaraz is the subject of our discussion. Moreover, naturally, we are discussing Rina Sabalenka, ranked second in the world, the reigning champion. The powerhouse of women's tennis is a natural power. The video from Sabalenka's press conference, it received roughly 8,000 views in the first 24 hours, is a reasonable amount for an interview prior to the game. Let's now examine the news conference of Alexandra Eala, a player who had never played before an Australian main draw match. A participant placed outside of the top seeds. Her video 171,000 views. Give that some thought. 171,000 compared to 8,000. It's not a margin of mistake. That's not a small advantage. That is a difference of 2,000%. That's an enormous statistical oddity that breaks a graph. Ben Rothenberg is among the most reputable sports journalists, examined these figures and inquired about that would have been a crazy question. It was 2 years ago. Is Alex already the most well-liked tennis player for women? Consider about how ridiculous that question is. No slam has been won by her. She hasn't made it into the top 10. However, in the digital arena, where decisions are made, Nike agreements, sponsorship agreements, and she is currently surpassing TV ratings. The sport's current queens. This something broke throughout the week in Melbourne. The system that demands victory in order to be renowned malfunctioned. Considering that when Eala entered court 6, it wasn't a tennis match. It was a pilgrimage. It was a riot. It was a cultural coronation. The planners created an error. They handled her in a generic manner. Qualifying. She was placed on court 6, a little outdoor court intended for peace, close-knit contests. They were unaware of they were attempting to incorporate a tsunami into a bathtub. Thousands of Filipinos arrived at Melbourne Park. They didn't simply occupy the seats. They ascended the fences. 10 standing rooms were packed. Deep in rows. They produced a volume of noise. Often saved for the World Cup final. Not a tennis match in the first round on a Tuesday afternoon. Additionally, within that cauldron, we noticed something extraordinary. We witnessed the birth of a new kind of tennis superpower. Typically, we look to the US or Europe for the upcoming major event. We search for the next Sharapova, Serena change. However, we were gazing in the incorrect direction. Location. The world's sleeping giant. There is no sports fandom in the West. It's within Southeast Asia. And it just woke up. The entire globe was stunned. You'd better have faith in it. Due to the fact that Orion Alex, Sabalenka is occupied with winning games. Eala is preoccupied with taking over the world. Today, we are delving deeply. We are tearing away the figures. We will examine the siege of Court 6. We will talk about the crowd etiquette controversy that is the purest fuming. And we're heading to pose the final query. Is this the point at which tennis is permanently altered? Is it at this point the star turns into greater than the sport? This isn't only a report about a match. This case study focuses on the arrival of a worldwide symbol. Fasten your seatbelt. The time has come. The court number 6 siege a failure in terms of logistics. Now let's begin with the tangible truth of what took place on Monday. To comprehend the size of this shock, you must comprehend the topography of a large Melbourne park is enormous. You possess the Coliseum, Rod Laver Arena, and the winners take the field. Margaret is with you. John Cain Arena and Court Arena. These are the courts of display. They have purchased tickets, capacity, seating, and security information for thousands. Next, you have the external courts, courts 6, 8, and 13. These are the courts of the working class in the competition. The grinders are located there. Have fun. It's typically where you can hear the sound of sneakers due to the throng is extremely sparse. Directors of tournaments scheduling alignments using a predicted algorithm of interest. If you're the you go to Rod Laver, world number 1. If you are an unseeded candidate such as you're going to court 6, Eala. It is typical process. However, the algorithm was unable to take into consideration a single factor, the Filipino diaspora. The Philippines is not merely a nation. In the realm of sports, it's a worldwide network. There are almost 60,000 Melbourne residents who were born in the Philippines by themselves. Additionally, on Monday, it seemed like only one of them rode the tram to park in Melbourne. Witnesses detailed the scene as cramped. Eala didn't even have a racket yet. The walkways around Court 6 were stuck in traffic. Security had to intervene, not to oversee the game, but to oversee the crush of human bodies attempting to obtain a glimpse of a 20-year-old striking a yellow ball. This is Manny Pacquiao, transported to a tennis court. When Pacquiao battled for decades, the Manila streets fell silent, and the rate of crime fell to 0. We are observing the early emergence of the same thing with Eala. She is not merely to these fans, you are an athlete. She's a projection of the country's identity. When with beat-em flags all over the place, she left. Possibility of Let's Go Alex overpowering the games taking place on nearby courts. This leads us to the contentious issue. Moreover, we must discuss this since it's the negative aspects of his coming. 2. The war of manners. Tradition versus passion. Tennis is a quiet sport. It's a sport of courteous praise. You applaud for a winner. It's your fault that you remain mute. You never, ever applaud your opponent fails to serve. The number of people on Court 6 via the Yarra's rulebook river. Reports from the field and talked about by tennis purists on Twitter verified that the mood was antagonistic toward Alicia Parks when Parks double-faulted. Cheers. When she concealed an unintentional mistake into the net, roars of acceptance. To her credit, Alicia Parks later on, he acknowledged that it was challenging. That would be an understatement in terms of diplomacy. She was participating in a neutral away game. Nation. She wasn't just fighting Eala, but a sonic barrier that urged her to fail. This has led to a heated discussion. This week in the world of tennis. On a single, the traditionalists are on your side, claiming that this is impolite, that it destroys the game's sacredness. Regarding on the other hand, the modernists who are stating, observe the energy. Observe the passion is what tennis need. If you wish to play tennis if you wanted to compete in the TikTok period with the Premier League and the NBA, you can't raise your nose at this level. Any involvement. Indeed, it was unfiltered. Was occasionally possibly unsportsmanlike, however, it was alive. In contrast to the kind half-asleep cheers at some of the ELA match and the center court games, it had stakes that went beyond 3, the game, the scoreline, the bagel and the crash. Let's now examine the real tennis because the scoreline reveals an intriguing tale of experience and pressure. The game began in a manner that appeared predetermined. Eala emerged from the gates seeking headlines. Firing. She won the opening 6-set match to 0. In professional tennis, a bagel defeating a top opponent 6-0 in a set A 100 opponent such as Alicia Parks is a statement. It implies complete control. Eala was reading Parks' large serve. The ball was being moved from corner to corner by her. And she was enjoying the electricity. Audience enthusiasm. At that point, 45 minutes before the game, the excitement appeared to be warranted. It appeared as though she easily advanced to the second round. However, tennis is a harsh mental game. Alicia Parks is a seasoned professional with an enormous serve, among the largest on excursion, and she calmed herself. The momentum changed in the second set. Parks ceased missing, and she began striking her areas, and all of a sudden, Eala's pressure altered. As the underdog, you play for free. If you win 6-0, and the audience is yelling your name, all of a sudden you have something to tense up and lose. The unforced errors began to appear. The increasing percentage dropped. Eala was defeated 6-3 in the second set. She dropped the third set, 6-2, but the crucial realization is that it didn't matter. Typically, when a potential customer excited, only to lose in the first sponsors, the hype train derails. Back off. With Eala, the media moves on. The defeat appears to have fueled the narrative. The reason is that the story it's about her, not about her power yet. Presence. Her ability to bagel a well-known American player demonstrated the collapse is possible. Demonstrated her youth, but the crowd, the audience stayed and never left. They chanted her until the very end. Named during her defeat. That's the distinction between a skilled player and a good player has fans, making them a franchise icon. An idol even has an army when they triumph. For the Sabalenka, when they bleed, the new measure of fame is comparison. Let's return to that YouTube video. Statistic: 171,000 views as opposed to 8,000. The Australian Open is being held twice at Sabalenka. Champion. She's a tennis player. She is terrifyingly talented, charismatic, humorous, and boisterous. She ought to be the most alluring. Then why is she losing focus due to the global number 49? Demographics and a hero void. Sabalenka's home, Belarus, has 9 million people living there. There are 115 people in the Philippines. Million, but it goes beyond simple figures. It concerns the lack of heroes in nations such as the United States, Spain, or France. Sports, they have Alcaraz, so supporters are pampered. LeBron, Nadal, Biles. When a star loses, they just change the channel. In the world's greatest athlete, the Philippines, is a valuable and uncommon resource. For 20 Manny Pacquiao was that resource for many years. Every last bit of optimism for the country was poured into his gloves. Pacquiao is currently retired. That vitality is searching for a new ship. It attempted to reach Kaisto in basketball, but the NBA dream remains pending. Alexa has become her home. Is the selected one, the vessel? When Filipinos observe her, they're not observing a game of tennis. Observing representation. They are observing their flag on a display that typically disregards them, which is why she is more well known in Australia than Sabalenka. Sabalenka struggles for herself at the moment. With her group, Eala battles for 115 million individuals who are yearning to be noticed. This is a marketing treasure trove for the Women's Tennis Association of the WTA, has had trouble locating the next big rivalry following Serena Williams' retirement. Deviate, Rybakina, Sabalenka, and the large three, although they're all from Eastern Europe. They appeal to the same general demographic. ILA provides access to Asia, not only the Philippines, but the whole market in Southeast Asia. Sponsors like Nike, Adidas, and Rolex are examining. They are drooling over those YouTube figures. She lost the first round, but it doesn't matter. The fact that 170,000 individuals clicked matters to them. The video. What happens next? So, what should we do next? The news cycle confirms Eala's departure from Melbourne right away. She's taking a plane back to Manila, will participate in the WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open event. This is a master of strategy. Stroke. She is transitioning from a devastating loss in Australia to a hero's welcome in Manila. She was the reason behind the creation of the competition. Consider that. The WTA approved a new competition in the Philippines, mostly to profit from the Alexandra Eala wave. She'll probably win games there. She will regain her self-assurance and she will strengthen her base, but the caution, there are indications. We've seen this film. Prior to the Anna Kournikova impact, the player gets extremely famous. Prior to them becoming a huge winner, it might be a trap. The obligations to the media, the urge to depict the photos a country. It can stifle a player's. Alexa is at a turning point in her growth. She is the most famous person in the world. But she plays like a player in the top 50. The upcoming year is crucial. Must close that gap. She requires her forehand to match the volume of her fan base. In sports, we frequently discuss arrival as a triumphant moment. We say a player has reached the moment they lifted their first grand smash. When they crack, we say they've arrived. The top 10. We tie the idea of arrival to the idea of conquest. However, I contend that Alexandra Eala has reinterpreted the meaning of arrival. To arrive is to be acknowledged. Compel everyone to cease scrolling and begin observing. To arrive is to make a loss in the first round on a side court similar to the evening's main event. Sport that is in dire need of characters, in need of fresh marketplaces, and yearning for youth, Alex is the most significant non-champion in the world at the moment. There were 128 ladies in the draw for the Australian Open, the competition's conclusion. One will hold the prize, however, on Monday evening on a noisy, packed electrified court 6, it had made no difference who had the trophy. Who held the crowd was important. The 171,000 viewers of her press conference didn't click because they were curious about a winner. The reason they clicked was wanted to hear her. She's not just a she is a movement currently as a tennis player. Indeed, she is a symbol. Statistically unquestionably more well-known in Australia this week compared to the woman who has a crown. The era is far from over. It's already in control. The victories, the awards are coming. Probably just a matter of time, but the stardom has already arrived. Although Alex Eala lost the match, she has won the battle for our focus, and in that is the sole triumph of 2026. I am your host, and this really resonates. Has been our in-depth special report. Keep your focus on the ball, but most importantly, focus on the female. From the Philippines due to the global yes, it is. Good night.